y'all? Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Let It Be the Podcast. I'm your host, Fergie. And before we get started, I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in this whole time. This has been a journey that I could not have planned for myself. And I would love to be, how do I say this? Like, I hope that I'm an encouragement or an inspiration to you, that if you have something on your heart, if you have something you feel like God has called you to do it, to finish what you started, to put one foot in front of the other. If you feel like there's something bigger for me, there's something that I'm supposed to do, let my life be a testament to do it. Because when I recorded the very first episode of the second season, which were my video episodes in August of 23, I had no idea that I would evolve in this way. I had no idea that I would be impacting people's lives in the way that it has been. Just the people that have come up to me, the people that have found the podcast, and it's been a blessing to them. Like, I can't explain what that feeling is. It's the craziest thing. So I just hope that if you've been following along, that you really take action and finish what you've started, or start if there's something on your heart. But that's my little spiel. Thank you so much for tuning in. But I couldn't think of a better person to end this season with. I have a very special guest with me. I have Miss Shay O. Aiken. She is a mortgage lender, but she's really special. So you introduce yourself. I want you to introduce yourself. But before we start, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me on this journey. And I'm happy to have you be the one to help close out this season.
Thank you.
Our conversation that we had, I could tell like your passion in it. And remember, like when we were talking about trying to figure out like, well, how do we get this direction? It was really just about purpose, and I could feel your passion in it. So thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. And yes, I look forward to sharing some of my journey and how I got to kind of where I am. And our relationship with each other too, that I think is super important and impactful. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, just to let you know a little bit about myself. I'm Shay. I'm from the West Coast, currently, relocated to Dallas, and I hope that we stay here for a very, very long time. My life has really come full circle. It seems like when you're going through it a long time, but looking back, it just seems like everything has gone so fast. And I just don't even know how I got here. And I'm just grateful. And I think everything happens the way it's supposed to. And I feel very blessed. I have two wonderful children that love you as well. My son, Trey, he's 5 years old. Baby girl, Adia, she'll be 1 next month. And my husband, who's absolutely amazing, currently teaching at UTD political science and is the ROT instructor at UT Arlington.
Awesome. I love that.
Yes.
Shay, tell us something fun about yourself, something that most people would know.
So I love sports. I have my whole life. Used to play sports.
Okay.
Not so much anymore.
Okay.
My son, he doesn't believe that I ever was an athlete in my life. So fun fact, in a couple weeks, we're actually going back to Seattle, where I went to high school, because we're doing a Hall of Fame induction for basketball.
I love that. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's
so I'm
big.
a little excited about that. Slight flex. But it'll be nice. My son and my daughter are going. Obviously, my daughter won't know what's going on.
No.
But my son, I'll be like, look, mommy, you really did this. You know what I mean? So it'll be fun to have that experience with my family. So yes. I look forward to
Congratulations.
it.
We can't jump over the athleticism, because this is a real hooper. Like, I don't want to be modest about it, because like the stats are there. Like, even from high school, like, this is a D1 athlete. So I want to know more about that journey. Like, how did you get into playing like sports? Were you always an athlete, or did you start off basketball? Like, when did you start playing?
Yeah, so I have always been into sports, and I'm not sure if this is necessarily true about everyone, but I do find some truth in the statement. Young girls thrive when they get attention in certain areas, and sometimes people do things because they get attention for it. So my thing was athletics.
Okay.
I wasn't I kind of was freakishly athletic as a little kid. It was weird, right? But from the time I was a child, like when I was 5, when I was my son's age, I was playing basketball with little boys. But everything that I did, I was pretty good at. And then I got attention for it. So naturally, I liked it because I was getting attention. I want to do it all the time. And of course, you know, when you put the time in and the effort, now comes the skill and you're getting better and growing. So, my whole life has essentially been very impacted by athletics. And then my parents, they saw, you know, an ability there. And so always tried to provide me additional opportunities to get better. And then they're huge in academics. So they pushed me very, very hard academically, especially when they realized like, hey, she might have something here and be able to go to college. For sports, they always knew that the academics had to be there as well, because you still have to get in, right? No matter what school it is. So they pushed me hard. And then, of course, when I was young, I used to always say I wanted to go to Stanford. So they're, you know, they ride me. They were like, you got to start, you have to get all A's now. They're like, Stanford, everybody gets A's in high school. They're going to look at your middle school report card. They're going to look at your elementary, like, you know what I mean? My parents were extra, but I appreciate it now.
Yeah, I would say that is extra. That's stressful. Yeah. But maybe because I wasn't in high school, I did enough, you know, like I just didn't know, like, but you said something that kind of struck as far as doing something and getting like a praise from it, or, you know, like, and that kind of fuels you. I do think that is true, but I also think that students or kids who are involved in like sports, that structure, I think that all kids should be involved in something extracurricular. Like, I think that helps you stay on track with, like I said, like I did enough, but when I played basketball too, kind of, but I sat on the bench, but it's neither here nor there. But it made you like want to strive for more. Like, you have to keep your grades up. You have to, you know, if you care, if you want to go further. So I guess it's like, it was a lot of pressure, but it worked in your favor, it sound like.
Absolutely. And I give credit to my parents too for recognizing my personality. If I would have had too much free time by myself, ain't no telling. No, but I always was busy. I was busy as a child, activities, extracurriculars. So I'm very grateful to have had that in my life. And I'm probably going to do the same thing with my children. And even right now, I'm trying to recognize what they like, what they're good at, all that type of stuff. And just, you know, you have to aid and assist and try to provide those tools for them. So it's very, very different now being a parent, like seeing, you know what I mean? Like when I was a child, I always was like, man, they're so hard. I mean, of course it was challenging. They were challenging me and trying to push me to get better. At the time, you don't see it like that, right? And now I just look at it from the lens of, I'm about to do the same exact thing to
that they did. Listen, it comes full circle. But speaking of full circle moments, we kind of skipped over this a little bit, but how do we get connected, Shay? How do we know each other?
Well, surprise, surprise, no. We are actually cousins.
We are blood cousins.
Yes, blood cousins. So let's see, your grandmother is my mom's sister. They had a very, very large age gap. And then your grandmother had your mom. And my mom and your mom are closer in age, what, about 6-7 years?
I think so.
Let my mom tell it. She lies. Yeah, she lies about her age. Oh. There ain't no telling. But my mom basically used to babysit, because my mom was in high school and used to babysit your sister and spend a lot of time. So I don't want to say they were like, your mom. Yeah. They were almost like, could have been sisters. But yeah. And then comes you and I, and then your brothers are the exact same age as me. And we actually went to school together for a couple of years, your brothers and I. And then you were always cute little Brianna, my little cousin, cutest baby in the world. So yeah, that's kind of what connected us. We've been connected since you were born and before. So yes, so it's wonderful to be here. And the fact that we're both now in DFW, it's so wonderful. It's so nice to have family.
No, and I'm glad that we can even honestly circle back about this, because when I say full circle moment, Shay, this, I feel like I'm living in an answered prayer. And it's not just about my podcast, it's about family. So for me, for a long time, God, everything happens for a reason, actually, because I feel like I was supposed to share this. But for a long time, it was hard being here. Like, I have people that love me in Dallas. I've built my own family, but it's nothing like having, blood, like relative, like, because it's just a different safety net, and I can't explain it. And so for me, I promise I can pull up journals from especially these last 2 years, and I'm like, God, like, I need something, I need a reason to be, because I felt alone. I felt like, like, I have friends and family, but it's not the same as like family, it's just a different kind of connection. And so the fact that you are here and we are growing a bond, like, my heart is like bursting. Like, I'm really grateful. This is not just like my cousin, like, like, I'm grateful for this, Shay.
I truly am. Like, you have no idea. It's very important, especially because even like as kids, I really was only around you when you were a baby. Mm-hmm. And even then for a little bit. And then I was around your brothers all the time because we were the same age and we went to school together. So it's really nice, even if I had to wait for us to be adults, to be able to get that quality time with you. And then because we have that family connection and we, like, even our family has been through so much evolution, it's so nice to see the person that you've become, especially after, you know what I mean? Just having that connection and knowing everything that we've been through as a family, as individuals, all that type of stuff. It really is remarkable. Man. I'm impressed with you.
Girl, I'm impressed with you. Like, thank you. I'm impressed with you. Just your journey from being, because like growing up, I always saw you as like my famous basketball cousin. I'm not lying, because like you play college D1 sports, and my brothers play basketball, and I just thought like, well, we have athletes, in my family, and that's why I thought like, oh, I'm gonna play basketball too. And so the very first time I tried, I played in middle school, 6th grade. It was only 1 year. I didn't know what I was doing, but I'm like, my brothers do it, and I play in the neighborhood with the neighborhood boys. And so I was like, let me just try. And that just wasn't what God had for me. I just say that, like, I wasn't going to college for sports. But I've always admired you from afar. And so just to see how this has, I felt like for me, especially last year, I felt that I was coming to my end. Like, well, I'm just going to move back to Kansas City because I'm tired of being here by myself. Like, and so even holidays, I spent both out of holidays with you. I'm like, God, this is really an answered prayer. So I'm very, very happy.
And I'm so glad too.
Yes, thank you. I love it.
To kind of touch on that a little bit too, it's very, very nice for us too. So my husband, he's in the military. Mm-hmm. So we travel every couple of years. Mm-hmm. Now being here, it's so nice to be with family. Mm-hmm. In the past, sometimes we get lucky and my parents would be able to travel out, or we'd be able to travel to, go see somebody for a holiday. But most of the time it just wasn't the case. So it's just very, very nice. It's so nice. And it's nice too, because you've had the chance to connect with my mom, who is the family history book.
Yeah, literally. So it's crazy that this just happened, to talk, so that we could talk about this actually, because I mentioned on an episode earlier that I had just found out something about my family, my history, and you've always known this, but I don't even know, like, am I supposed to share this or not? Because I'm still processing. I'm very sensitive to my family, to the history, because not everybody knows the things that we've experienced and still growing through, right? Mm-hmm. But learning that I have a Haitian, like, heritage is crazy to me. I feel like that kind of put a whirlwind in my identity a little bit. Like, for you always knew that, but when your mom mentioned it, I'm like, what? So it's just, I don't know. I feel like I'm learning, trying to learn myself more. Why did things happen the way that they happen? Because even like, I feel like we were connected as children, but then life has just kind of gone on and we've had different journeys. And so to bring it back full circle, and I'm able to now learn at the time that I was supposed to learn it. And, because I feel like, I don't know what it is about the aunties, but now I'm the auntie that's curious, that I want to have the answers for my nieces and nephews and try to bring the family answers and, things. And so I'm things really do happen in the time that they're supposed to happen.
They do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I love that about you. I love that you're curious. And I love that, we're able to connect on this level. And I think there's still so much more to explore, not only in terms of us as cousins, as friends, but family, all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And my mom has done a lot of the, what is it, like the DNA type of stuff, and she'll go travel around the world looking for family grave sites and this, that, and the third. So they started a very extensive collection of the family line, which I hope, she brings it out here with her. So we're able to like really take a look at it. I don't know. It really is impactful. It kind of does go deep. It's very, I don't know how it's so touching. Like we were in DC. And, they have the African American Museum out there. There's
I've been to that.
You've been there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, wonderful. On I think it was the third floor, where they have those old, it's electronic books, right? But you can look up your family's name and you can see old signatures and stuff like that. So just having like a little bit of information, my mom's like, oh, go look for this. And going up there and seeing like your greats, signatures, or, their mark because they didn't know how to write, and all this different type of stuff. It just really is so impactful on your life. And it just really puts things in perspective of how far not only we have come as individuals, but how generations have developed. You know what I mean?
It's kind of crazy to me that technology is able to do that. And I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of, like I said, I'm very sensitive to this topic because this is like my real life.
Yes.
And so I'm like, I don't even know how to process my feelings behind it, for one, because I feel like a lot of my life has been a question mark. A lot of things. Why do I look different? My mom is very, very high yellow. And so I'm like, and I used to be light skinned. I don't really consider myself light skinned, but I used to be very bright. And so like, I know that I have Native American on both sides too. And so I just have a lot of questions. And sometimes a part of me, if I'm being vulnerable, like I'm kind of scared to know the answers to some things. Like I'm kind of scared to start digging. And that's something that I've been working with my therapist, just talking about some of these things, facing some of those questions. It's like, do you leave good enough alone or do you go dig? I don't really know. So that's crazy that this kind of took a pivot into that, because that's not what we were originally going to talk about. But maybe somebody needed to see themselves. And see it.
Save it for next season.
Yeah.
Maybe dig a little bit deeper into that, because that is a very deep question.
That is, and that's not something that I was not even expecting this.
Yeah,
to
but
even
that's
come
deep
out
for a lot of people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm very, like I said, this is just like I feel very vulnerable. I feel very, very vulnerable in my adult years. So navigating through that has been crazy. But that's how we got connected.
Yes.
You shared some of your journey, just knowing that you are an athlete, but I know that you didn't grow up like, I'm going to be a mortgage lender, but I know that this is something that you're passionate about. But before you got to that point, tell me about your college experience? What did you study? Like how did you maneuver being a student, not just an athletic student, but also like staying on top of your grades, and like tell me your journey.
Yeah. So when I was in high school, it was kind of, everyone kind of recognized, okay, this is kind of somebody that's geared towards athletics. I started getting college letters when I was in 6th grade. So that paired with, I did have pretty decent academics. In junior high, actually, your brothers, they lived out in Seattle for a couple years with us. And then after 9th grade, I ended up transferring to a Catholic prep school in downtown Seattle, on Capitol Hill in Seattle. And the school academically was very challenging, but I naturally kind of was good at a lot of academic things. I probably didn't study as hard as I should have in high school. But I still did fine. And then fast forward to by my junior year, I had committed to the University of Arizona. I wasn't exactly sure at the beginning of high school, I loved volleyball and basketball equally. I just played way more basketball. And then when I got to high school, I got there my sophomore year. So my sophomore, junior, senior year, all state championships in volleyball, and then basketball just my sophomore year. And then we got second my junior year. But basketball definitely was prevalent and ended up sticking with me. Transition into the University of Arizona. Wonderful experience. I got to meet some amazing people. I ended up studying, I started with like communications and journalism, and then naturally they stick a lot of the athletes, the Black athletes, in African American studies classes.
Really?
Yes, I have a minor in Africana studies, which literally just happened because I had enough it wasn't intentional, honestly. I just had enough credits, and they're like, hey, you have enough credits for a minor for this. I was like, cool, let's do it. It's already there, right? It's done. Yeah. So, but when I was in school, academics, once I got to college, it just kind of shifted the focus, because keep in mind, this is University of Arizona, D1. It is a basketball school. These coaches, these people, they're getting paid six figures. This is serious. There's, from the TV dollars, the athletic department, everything, it's like big business at this time. So even though you're a student, you're part of a major corporation, right? You're paying people's, lifestyles and their kids' college tuitions and this, that, and the third. So it got a little bit intense, but I was there for it. I loved it. By a couple years in, though, I started having medical issues. I got a bunch of concussions. Even though I'm 6 foot, I was pretty athletic. I could jump, this, that, and the third. So
wait, even though you're 6 foot, like, is that short or something?
For D1 basketball.
Oh, okay.
It's like an
average height. Okay.
Yeah. So I was going against, I was playing and then I was kind of a versatile player. So I was playing a little bit out of the guard and in the a 3-4 kind of combo, I was a 3-4 right? Too, yeah. So, but then I was strong and I could jump. So they had me in there sometimes, if the other team had a really good center, I would be guarding a 6'7", 6'8", whatever, right? And I'm catching all the elbows. God. So I ended up having some concussions, which is crazy, because around that same time, one of my best friends' teammate and my roommate and our grandmother actually all had passed away within a month of each other. And then add that, it was a little bit of trauma for me, I guess. I didn't know how to deal with it. And back then, therapy wasn't really a big thing. It was you go to therapy if you're crazy. It wasn't oh, you might legitimately need to talk to someone because it's normal, or you've had a lot of stuff happen to you. So that mixed with head injuries, I ended up definitely going through some things, definitely had some bouts of depression and struggling. And then now I've been an athlete my whole life, going back and forth with that struggle of, can I still play? Do I want to still play? What's going on? You know what I mean? So I definitely went through kind of a dark phase.
How did you come out of that? Because I feel with athletes, there's a lot of, and I wasn't a college athlete, but a lot of those pressures and things, they go unspoken of, especially because back then when we were in college, that therapy wasn't a thing, So how did you navigate that while still maintaining what you could?
It was a struggle. I did have my family and some really good people around me. At one point, though, I did feel, because I was when I was at school, keep in mind, I went out of state for school, right? So there were times to where I did feel kind of isolated and alone and by myself. And it was because I wasn't trying to self-sabotage. It was just naturally I was already kind of depressed and stuff like that. So I'd stay, in my house or stay whatever, and then go through these bouts of, oh, I'm by myself. Oh, I'm all alone. You know what I mean? Which at the time I didn't know how to communicate these things. I wasn't really going to talk to anyone about this. I was just trying to figure out how to navigate it on my own. Because at the time, and what I was raised on was tough it out, figure it out, get over it, and go kick butt, keep going. You know what I mean? You need to thug this out type of thing. So there were definitely struggles. It was definitely hard, but ultimately just, I definitely tried the alcohol route. That got me nowhere quick. Didn't do anything. You know what I mean? You feel you're drunk, or you feel fine for 5 minutes, and then don't drink by yourself. Like, I did definitely get drunk and was on my bathroom floor by myself. That makes you even more depressed. Take it from me. It definitely happened to me. That was horrible. But ending up, I had to rely on people. And once again, therapy wasn't big at this time, but my best friend, Michelle, who you've met, that's when her and I just got super close. My mom, just being able to talk to people who truly have your best interests in mind and want to see you thrive and want to see you do better. And even if you're at a low point, they just know that's not where you're supposed to be. And they don't pressure you to, get out of it. They let you go through what you need to go through and just offer the support of when you need that person to talk to, when you need that, you know what I mean? Shoulder to cry on, when you need, you know what I mean? To say, hey, do you want to go, to this restaurant? Do you want to go do something to get your, like, you know what I mean? Just someone that can help you navigate your situation until you're ready to get out of it. Because sometimes people don't understand. You're not going to get out of a situation until you're fully ready to. Now therapy is so helpful, and you can help process your own thoughts and help process what you're going through. So as opposed to then, things definitely took longer because, like me, I was doing a lot of the stuff internally.
Same. Self-sabotage. I can relate to that too. So, and for sophomore year, I think it was sophomore year, my aunt Denise passed away from breast cancer. And that, I didn't know that would affect me the way that it did. Because I kind of my freshman year, I kind of had a great time the first semester, but then it was I had something that I was in pursuit of. And so I was okay, well, that kind of kept me aligned with making sure that I'm involved on my campus and doing things. But then when Denise passed away, my life was a whirlwind. And I was I don't even know if everybody noticed, but I was going to drop out of school sophomore year and I was trying to join the Navy. Jesus, because girl, I don't belong in nobody's Navy, but that's why I had literally had meetings with them, but I had braces. And at the time I had just got my braces. And so I couldn't get them removed. And that was kind of hindering me from going through the program that they had. So it was a block. But for me, I just felt self-sabotage. I don't want to do this. I stopped caring about school for a long time. And it took me a long time to recover my GPA and all of that. But it was people, my best friends, my mentors, other people that were in my life that have helped me just stay the course and to believe in myself again. So it is true when you're saying having those people around, having family around to pull you up when you're down, because I definitely have gone through, because college is a weird thing anyway. It's you come out of high school and you don't really know what adulthood is, but you're on your own and you have to maintain grades. And if you're an athlete, you got to make sure that you keeping your body together and practicing and all those things. So I can it's a lot of pressure for college students, especially if you the only one that's doing it, you don't really know what to do. So that's real.
Yeah, it definitely was real. And I'm just grateful for that experience. And I 100% love Arizona to the day I die. I'm we say bear down, bear down Arizona. How Alabama says roll tide. Yeah, we say bear down. So I'm bear down for life. I 100% love that experience. It helped me grow a lot. And my self-discovery at that point was different from what it would be for someone today. Once again, tools and resources have changed, which is great. I love that this world and country and everything has evolved. But I appreciate going through things because I've learned a lot. I appreciate my parents, being strict on me as a child because I learned from it. I think I have a better understanding of navigating certain people because of personalities that I've been dealing with from a young age. So I definitely appreciate all of that. And just to kind of bring it back to full circle, it's wild because after I ended up having to transition after I stopped playing basketball into just a regular student. That transition was wild. I didn't know what it was like to live life without playing a sport. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So of course I like did my own LA fitness thing or working out by myself, but to not be on a team and to not have that structure definitely changed my life. And then pushing forward towards the time of graduation and all that type of stuff, I was struggling finding a job.
I went through that. Girl.
Yeah, all these places.
Mm-hmm.
I still to this day believe I interview very well.
Mm-hmm.
I've been given the skills to do an interview. I can carry a conversation professionally. And I believe I had that skill set at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody that I was trying to apply with, they're like, well, you have no work experience. We'd love to hire you, but you don't have any work experience. I was like, I just got out of school.
Girl, I used to be like, when I would get all those rejections and all those just interviews, it's like, how you want me to get experience if nobody gonna give me a chance to get any? What do you do? That's what was so hard for me after I graduated college. Like, well, I've done these things in college, but like, give me a chance in the real world to get some experience, you know? That's
absolutely.
really frustrating. So did you try to, like, since you didn't play sports anymore, but did you still have that dream to go off and play sports overseas, or was that something that you wanted to do? So
that opportunity ended up presenting itself and I was not looking for it. Mm-hmm. It blindsided me. I had a Korean team that had reached out subsequently. I wasn't playing at this time, but they reached out to my parents, which is hilarious because in Korean culture, if a female is not married, basically her parents run her life, right? Mm-hmm. So respectfully, they flew out to Seattle from Korea. Wow. They flew out and met my parents. And they were like, we would like your daughter to play on our basketball team. It's called the Shinsegae Cool Cats.
I don't even know how to say that.
Right. They're in Seoul, Korea. But my parents were like, okay, well, if you want her to play, you need to ask her, does she want to play? Because our daughter is grown and she's crazy. So if we give you permission to take our daughter to Korea, she's coming for y'all and then she's coming for us. Go to Arizona, talk to her. So now they fly down to Arizona.
Wow.
And I meet with them. Well, first I did a workout with them, do the dinner thing, whatever. I'm like, okay, looks like I'm like, I was actually it took a while for me to get to that point too, to where I completely had told myself that I was done with basketball. Mm-hmm. So it was wild that this situation had come back up. Thank God I still worked out because it was just part of my second nature. I had to. And it wasn't that far removed from it was like a year and a half after I had stopped playing. Mm-hmm. So it was still there. You know what I mean? But they ended up essentially voting me out of the league because my dad, is half Korean. My last name, Oh, is Korean. So in that league, they were able to have 3 American players per team. They got me and said, because my dad is half Korean, I was raised in the Korean way, that I should count as a Korean. Yeah, I got voted out of the league before preseason was over.
That is crazy.
But yeah, the only reason I said yes to it essentially was because they offered me $250,000. I was like, $250,000, like, mind you, I couldn't find a job.
Yeah,
and I'm like, $250,000.
This is my ticket out.
Yeah, I got to go to. And then in Korea, it's like different than other places. In Korea, they love American. Well, at the time, they love, and they still do actually love Americans. Other places. Huh? Yeah, South Korea. Okay. Yeah, no, we weren't with Kim Jong-un and them. We were in, South Korea and Seoul. But other countries, like I went to Poland and they were looking at me like I was a space creature. Like, who is this? Why is this big black girl here? Like, no. So, but no, in Korea, they don't even know. Like, you could go, anyone could go, and they'll look at you and they'll be like, you look like an athlete. Can I have your autograph? Like, they just like,
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild. But so I was, very interested in that. And then it ended up not working out. So now here I am back in. At this point, I moved to Phoenix and I was working at a restaurant. I took a trip out to Atlanta to visit. But I was like, well, because I'm visiting and at this time I'm broke, right? So I'm like, let me make this a productive trip. I set up 2 job interviews. I went to Atlanta for like 5 days, I believe. I went for 2 job interviews and I left with 5 job offers.
Wow.
So
another subtle flex. Okay.
Yeah. Well, at the time, and I didn't know what it was. At the time, Atlanta wasn't quite what it is today. It was still growing, but they're like, "Oh, you have a degree? Yeah, come on!" Like they counted my face value and my ability to. This is what I'm presenting you, and they're like, "Oh, you're smart. You can do this. You can do the job." That's all that they took it for. They didn't care about the work experience. It was like seemed like there was better understanding of just the fact of this is a qualified person that we think can do the job, not qualified by past work experience, but qualified by the fact that we think like, you know what I mean? We're talking to her and she has had these life experiences, even though it's not within the professional field because she just got out of college. You know what I mean? So I ended up packing up my stuff. Best friend, Michelle, helps me drive my little Mitsubishi. We left Phoenix like in the middle of the night, one night, stopped in Dallas, which is wild, got a hotel the next day. So we drove halfway and then the next morning got up, drove the rest of the way to Atlanta. I actually started working in concerts and events, doing different stuff like that because that industry was booming in Atlanta at the time. And as in my 20s, I ended up finding a way for myself to where I was making a ton of money. Had I known now, or had I known then what I know now, of course I would have done things differently. But at the time, I think I was so excited too. And just because it was so fast that everything happened. And then I found out that my dad also had he had a couple credit cards in my name since I was 10 years old. So by the time I got to Atlanta and now I have a job, I was going to get a new car. Well, they pull my credit at the dealership, which I didn't really know too much about it at that point. I'm like 760, 770, something like that. They're offering me Mercedes and stuff.
Dang.
And I was just like, yes, give me the red one. I literally got a red Mercedes.
Really?
My first car is by myself. But I didn't know my dad had done that. He'd set me up basically to have, by the time I graduated, have good credit.
My God,
so
what a blessing.
That is a blessing. Small tip, takeaway. And then, because you do have people that do the exact opposite. They get stuff in their kids' names because their credit's already messed up.
I didn't know where you was going with that. I'm not gonna lie.
And then they mess up their kids' credit. So luckily my dad did not do that to me. He did the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Shout out to him. Yeah, shout out to him. Hey, good credit. But I'll also, do that with my kids. Wait till they're, because 7 years, right? Your credit reports. So by the time they're 11, make sure I have stuff in their name. So by the time they're 18 and they're adults, they should start their adult life with good credit. And I'll do the same thing. Like my dad said, you have decent credit. It's up to you to either maintain it or you can trash it. I trashed mine. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
I did because at first I didn't. And once again, and it was funny too because I had a ton of money. I was making great money at that time, having a great time.
Atlanta, I used to. So I wanted to live. Atlanta was on my list to live too, and it's still not necessarily crossed out if that's where God take me. But I love Atlanta. So what was that experience like from being an athlete to now you're in a new city and you outside basically?
I'm outside. I was all the way outside, and then it was very different. It was exciting to me, honestly, and then because I was booking events and venues. So let me backtrack. I started actually doing renovations. I worked for this company that was like renovating and updating restaurants, bars, lounges, clubs, and stuff like that. But through doing that, I met people that actually owned the clubs, owned this, promoters, this, that, and the third, just by naturally being at these places, like be on a site for 2 weeks doing a renovation and stuff like that. So, and I only worked for that company for less than a year. And I started making other connections, and just naturally at the time, Atlanta was like still kind of on the come up. It was making the transition from just like that southern little city to like Atlanta, a big city, like a real
Black
city.
Hollywood.
Right. Black Hollywood. Exactly. So at that time I ended up linking up with some people, so I was straight doing like booking concerts, I'd take artists and we'd take them to different cities on tour. And it'd be, I'd get the door, I'd get this, and then we book them for multiple, like they have a concert and then afterwards I have this club that's paying me to bring them. They get this much. And you know what I mean? So it was like fast life, fast money. I had a lot of fun doing that. But it kind of came to an end with a bad relationship. I actually ended up leaving Atlanta for just to get away from the relationship, get away from the whole scene for a while. And then one of my friends that was like a really, really good true friend had called me and was just like, "Are you coming back?" Like I had been gone for like 8 months.
Wow.
And I was just
Did you go back to like Seattle or Arizona?
No, random ready. I was in Iowa.
Okay, why?
Yeah.
Of all places, Iowa.
So I ended up getting a call and my friend was like, "Hey, I'm working at this mortgage company." He was doing HR and he's just like, "I think you would be really good at this. Have you considered moving back?" And at the time, his cousin was renting, because I had a place in Buckhead. His cousin was renting out my place while I was gone. And they were just like, come back. Like, come on. You know what I mean? And he was like, "I got a, HR position at this mortgage company. I think you'd be really good at this. And these people are making crazy money here. Do you think you could pass the mortgage test?" I was like, mortgage test? When I tell you, I went to the library in Des Moines, Iowa, and checked out Mortgages for Dummies.
The book?
The book. I was like, I don't know the first thing about mortgages. I checked out that book, read it a little bit, and I was like, maybe I can. And he's like, "Okay, come back to Atlanta and you'll take this class." And mind you, part of my motivation too to come back to Atlanta was our grandfather. He was, so when I was in Atlanta making all this money, like, and I was coaching basketball, I had an AAU girls team doing concerts and events. Like, it was just so much fun for me. You know what I mean? Like, I was having a ball. And then, so granddad, he would come stay with me a lot of the times, and then he'd go back and forth. And he'd go to Philly and come back, this, that, and the third. So then when I left Atlanta, I still talk to him all the time, but he's always like, "When are you going to go back? I want to come stay with you. I want to come stay with you." And I was just like, man, because he didn't love Philly, right? He did not love Philly at all.
I can understand it.
Yeah. So he always wanted to come back and hang out. And this is where I just didn't know that my life was going to change so much when I made the decision to move back. My life was shaken in so many different ways. So this is now 2015. I go back to Atlanta, lock myself in a room for 2 weeks, took a class. So I go to the class and then just go back and lock myself away and study. After 2.5 weeks, I went to the federal testing place, passed the mortgage exam on my first try.
Wow.
So I've always been good with numbers, math. And then all you have to do is really memorize like the laws and regulations and stuff like that. So I was now a licensed mortgage advisor and like loan originator.
So is that by state? Is that by?
Yeah. So at the time I was working for a place that did it by state. So you don't also have to apply for individual, but I was federally licensed, right?
Okay. That's what I was going to ask.
And then even now, banks, you don't have to be licensed to work at a bank. They can get anybody off the street and hire them.
Wow.
So that's why I always tell people, be careful when you go to banks getting loans and stuff like that. They're not licensed. Not everyone knows what they're doing, right? Some people do. Most don't. But at that time, I was so excited because I passed, and then my friend, he worked in HR there, right? He's showing me these checks of these people. This dude made 17 grand this month. This dude made 10 grand this month. This girl, she sucks and she made 6 grand. I'm like, wow, I can do this. You know what I mean? And then he's telling me, yeah, that person failed the test like twice and you passed it on your first time. Imagine how great you're going to do. So I hit the ground running and I actually did start off doing really, really well. It came naturally to me. And then I was excited too, because I get my own place. So now I'm back set up. I'm really back in Atlanta for real this time. Now I'm a mortgage lender. And then right after my birthday in October, I get that call, Grandpa passed. So that was really sad. Yeah. That was really, really hard.
That was when, I feel like that was in like 2015.
That was 2015.
That was when I hadn't seen you since I was like a kid. So that was kind of like the first introduction to like getting back connected. But you said something that I don't want people to miss. You said you made relationships. The job that you took when you moved, when you first got to Atlanta, that's how you got connected, was just being intentional with the relationships that you had.
It was.
And how those relationships open doors and open other doors.
100%.
Literally, go ahead.
I would just add in, by authentically being yourself, relationships happen, but then full circle. Because even the ones that I created while I was there, when I did, because I was in a bad, like literal boyfriend-girlfriend relationship is why I ended up leaving. But still, one of the relationships I created, I get this call, man, come back. You know what I mean? So being your authentic self, you'll find your people that you're meant to be connected with, right?
Yes.
So even if you go away, something happens, whatever, it's crazy how things always end up coming back together.
Literally, my life right now is a testament to that. And it's something I'm constantly being reminded of, like how you carry yourself matters, how you steward the season that you're in matters, how you treat the little people, it matters, you know, like, I feel like even for myself, being intentional with like where I am, even if it's not necessarily where I want to be, speaking of like my job or whatever, but being intentional with the relationships, with the rooms that I'm able to be in, not maliciously looking for anything, but being myself as a servant leader. I want to be a part of it. How can I make it better? Because that's my thing. When no matter where I'm around, what I'm doing, how can this place be impacted in the most positive way when I leave? You know, that's what I care about.
Letting your intentions be known and being authentic transcends. And then some people, not everybody is for you, and you aren't for everybody. And that's okay.
And seasons too.
And seasons, absolutely. But when things connect, or it might be a connection you didn't even recognize, you walk away from the situation not thinking there's anything, and then, you know, months later, the next day, whoever knows what could happen, it ends up coming back. So to tie that in, it's crazy because after Grandpa passed, so many things changed in my life. So don't get me wrong. So grandfather was like, especially when I moved to Atlanta and he'd stay with me and stuff like that. So first of all, grandfather was old when we were born, right? So he was retired. I spent as a child when we were in Kansas City. And even when I got older, he'd always fly out to Seattle. And then when finally I was an adult, and you know, he got to come see me play basketball in college. And then when I was finally an adult and he come stay with me, like that was like, I don't want to say the man in my life, but his presence, his soul was so powerful. Such a great person, such a great role model, right? Sweet, caring, could cook his butt off, all of that, right? So our grandfather passes. Especially, it was so heavy on my heart because he wanted me back in Atlanta so bad because he wanted to come stay with me. That was very, very hard. That was so hard. But God did that for a reason. One, he went peacefully. He was 101 years old. So he lived a full life. A very full life, had so many people that loved him, would give anything to be around him, right? So not only do I connect with you at the funeral, who I haven't seen since we were children, that's a beautiful thing. And just to have all of our family together was wonderful. After that, I get back to Atlanta. I believe it was in November. I got asked to coach a semi-pro basketball team in Atlanta. And I end up going to they had a draft at one of the mega churches in Atlanta. And I go to it, kind of meet this weird dude. Didn't think too much of it, right? I didn't know then, but that ended up being my husband. So,
oh, that's crazy.
I lose my grandfather. The next month I meet my husband. I was put there for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't thinking about finding a husband, and I thought my husband was weird as heck when I first met him.
Shout out to DA. I don't think you're weird.
He's not weird. He's actually fantastic.
Yeah, he's
very
really cool.
smart. Yeah, he's cool. It was just a circumstance, right?
Yeah, no, I get it.
And then it was funny too, because even after, so the initial meeting, he'll laugh about it too. But after our initial meeting, he ended up coming to my house as a guest of someone else that I invited to my house. And I was like, how did he end up at my house?
That is so crazy.
But he was intentional. He was intentional. And I love that.
Yeah.
Because without his intention, we would have never been together, right? Even then, he had just got done with his master's degree. And he did ROTC for his master's degree. And I was just like, he's about to be in the military. I'm not going to date someone in the military. Like I told myself that. I told him that. Yeah, that didn't go as planned, right?
Gotta laugh at our plans.
He does. He's just like, you thought what you thought. No. So, and I'm very, very happy. And now look at how that transcended, right? So I end up being a military spouse on the road, still trying to have my mortgage career. Luckily, I was good enough at mortgages. I did hop around to a couple companies just because we moved so much, right? But I was able to kind of maintain a career. There's a lot of things that happened in between there, like the birth of our son. I've blown out both of my knees. All trying to thought I was an athlete. No, my body is like, you're old now. Please slow down. Let me slow you down. Go ahead and take a seat with this ACL. Go ahead and take a seat with that meniscus. So things have happened for a reason. And now here we are full circle. His military career brought him here. And now he's kind of transitioned into, the professor life. And now I'm back with my cousin. Like, it's just...
That is crazy, actually, to think about it in that way.
So, and everything while it happens, it seems like it's so hard. All you can do is pray and know that there is a bigger plan. Because when I look back at my life and how things have happened, I couldn't have wrote it any better. You know what I mean? And I needed certain lessons, as hard as the things were to get through them. Like, I just look at the lessons and and I know it sounds a little bit twisted, but I'm grateful for a lot of things that other people would have been like, dang, that's so messed up. Like, I'm grateful because I needed that lesson at the time. And now I can look back at it and say, now I have that. I stored it. I figured out how to get through it. And then now I know how strong I am too.
Yes.
It's crazy. How many times have you, and I know, once again, that cousin love, I know a lot of things in your life. Do you feel like you can recognize your own strength in some of the things that you've been able to overcome? You
know what? That's a good question.
Have you ever taken time to really reflect on that?
Not until adulthood. So a lot of my life, it's a good question. A lot of my life, I thought that maybe like I was cursed or God hated me. I just was like, what did I do so bad that, because people take it like, oh, you're so resilient. Like, that's not a badge of honor for me. I'm tired, like, and I'm young and I've had to be strong my whole life, since I was a little girl. And so, or like not knowing how to acknowledge my emotions, my feelings, and I buried everything. And so for me, I didn't understand a lot of things. But what life has taught me is the power in forgiveness and not carrying those burdens.
Yes.
Because it hinders you from being able to evolve. And that's why I know, like, we talk about recognizing your strength, knowing that I've had to operate out of a space of forgiveness for a lot of different seasons in my life, from my childhood to people that have hurt me, things that I've not shared, not spoken about, and I recognize that because instead of, I could be out here really seeking revenge for people. I could be coming for people one by one, you know what I'm saying? But I feel like God allowed me to go through some of those things. I don't know why I'm so choked up. God allowed me to go through some of those things because he knew that I could handle it. And he knew that I wouldn't take it and let it and destroy the world around me.
Right.
I would take it and my strength is how I got stronger. That's how you grow in your faith.
Yes.
They say like, God gives his toughest battles to the strongest. And I used to joke like, God, how strong you want me to be? But now I recognize when I'm facing it, when I'm up against things, like God has allowed me to experience this because he knows that I can handle it. He knows my character. He knows my heart. He trusts me with it. He trusts me with it. And he trusts me to not lose my faith, even though my faith has been shaken. I'm not gonna lie. There's been times where I question, like, is this work? What is this? There's been times that I've dealt with that, but looking back, it's like, wow, I've been strong enough to get through every hard day that I didn't think I could.
Yes.
And that's why I am the person that I am now, because I know how to forgive. I know how to love, and I know how to keep going and like encouraging somebody else along the way, because that's why I got through it. So,
and that can be a testament to so many people, so many people. But that's something that, and not only you, but everyone, you know what I mean, has to take that challenge and look at it like everything difficult that you thought was difficult at the time, like reflect on that. Like, what did that do for your character? You know what I mean? It really, and especially because I know you know what I mean? I can say just from, my experience with you, besides just being family, like you have grown so much and you're so strong. It's so impressive. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
And you have so much more to contribute to everyone around you, and people can really take your words and learn from it. You know what I mean? And apply it to their life and be better people from it too. So
thank you.
It's just very encouraging. You know what I mean? To take something from someone else and be able to give to other people just through your experiences. So I really love that about you.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Definitely.
I found myself, like, I feel like God will give you hints along the journey of like, okay, there's more, because like I think about a lot of the rejection that I faced, a lot of disappointment, and just, to be honest, like betrayal. Like I've dealt with a lot of betrayal in my life, and it's just like, well, dang. Go ahead. Was you gonna say something?
No. Oh, okay.
Sorry. So like and I really don't like to talk about relationships, because you don't even deserve that type of energy from me, right? But I think about this relationship that I had, and I was betrayed in the worst way. And it did send me spiraling mentally for a really long time. Like it changed me like I didn't recognize myself. I don't even want to be specific with time, but I didn't recognize myself as a result of the betrayal that I faced. But I made up my mind after I finished going crazy. Like, listen, you either going to take this and you're going to forgive him, or you're going to be stuck here and it's going to keep you from evolving. And I thought back to when you asked me that question about strength, how much I have been able to get through, even as a child, right? Like, why does he deserve to hold this place in my life to block me from growing into the person that God has evolved? Because it hurt me very bad. It really disrupted me for a long time. But I was like, you know what? I forgive you. I forgive you if I never get an apology from you. And I mean, I got one eventually, but I forgive you because you don't deserve to hold that place to block me from my blessings.
Yes. And vengeance stunts your growth.
No, in real life, I was like, you don't deserve that. I am not going to jail for you. That's been my biggest thing. That's why, like, people see me and they're so inspired, but like, I have really come a long way, and it's best that I'm with Jesus. It's best that I went Jesus, because I've been apart from him, and I've acted and done things that's like, you know what, I don't even like this. I don't like the way I feel, the thoughts that I can have, like, because like anger and unforgiveness and bitterness, man, that will take you, it has no bounds.
Right.
And you
can spiral quick.
You can spiral. And that's why I empathize with people who've done things, because it's like impulsively, like, because they didn't have that emotional control. They didn't have the spirit of forgiveness in them. They didn't have it, like I can empathize because I've been there a lot, but no, I just feel like nobody deserves to hold that space. So it's like, let it go. Even parents, people that have hurt me, friends, whatever, like, let it go.
Yeah,
it's just, it's easier, because like you said, if you didn't, if you would have kept that, I don't want to say bitterness, I'm not gonna say you were bitter, but like whatever you went through, that betrayal that you went through that made you leave Atlanta, what if you didn't come back? What if you ran from that and stayed? You wouldn't have evolved in the way that you have,
Absolutely.
God does work everything together, for real.
Absolutely. And puts people in place in your life to where if you're authentically yourself, things come back full circle. You just have to trust and just stay true to yourself and who you are. And things, I don't want to say they work out perfectly, because there's no version of perfect.
Yeah.
No matter who you are. But things end up the way that they're supposed to be. But that's 100% what I believe happened to me. And I'm so grateful for where I am today. And now being in DFW, we ended up, because we want to stay here for a long time, we bought a house here. And now it's fun too, because I'm helping other people with their goals of home ownership. And my husband's happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We have the kids. And that's another thing too. As far as being stable, I 100% love the military for everything that they provide to us as a country, to us individually, all that type of stuff. I just know that right now, at this point in our lives, this is where we're supposed to be. And I'm glad, because I want my children to be able to grow up with a group of friends that they've known for a while and stop having to, you know what I mean, move every 2-3 years. My son is 5 now. He was born in Texas. But
oh yeah, you lived in Texas.
We were at Fort Hood.
Okay.
When my son was born, and my husband deployed to Korea when he was like 3 months old.
Ain't that crazy?
Isn't that wild?
That's
so how everything happens,
that's
right?
Crazy.
And then it's so wild too, because so that's when, after I had my son, I was just like, oh, I'm going to get back. So I did CrossFit. I blew out my knee. My body was like, no, you just had a baby. What are you doing? And so I blew out my knee. My husband deployed to Korea. I was by myself with the baby, had to pack up a house. I put most of our stuff in storage. I was like, it's just going to have to stay in Texas. And went to Seattle, stayed there with my family. He got back right before my son turned 1. And we had his little birthday party. And then I scheduled my knee surgery for a couple weeks later. So my husband was able to be there for his birthday, for my knee surgery.
Wow.
And then right after that, packed up, moved to Fort Lee in Virginia.
Wow.
So
you I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, it's just been, it's like the military can be a lot. But once again, everything happens for a reason. And I know that I'm in the place that I'm supposed to be.
I can attest to that. Same. Like even those hard moments, like I can't imagine having a newborn by yourself in a town, like, you know,
and I didn't know
anybody there. Yeah. Like that is, but to see it, like you say, like come back full circle. So were you always in the mortgage? Were you still working in the mortgage industry at that time?
So I've always been working in the mortgage industry. It's been times that I had to take a break. Like when that happened, when I moved back to Seattle, I wasn't working.
Okay.
Just because I had my son, he was a baby, my husband was gone. Thankfully, my parents and my sister live and Dawn, our cousin, they all live within like a half mile of each other. So I went back there for family, community. I needed help. I needed help, right? I had a baby and one leg. So I was waiting for him to get back. And so I wasn't working at that time. And then I started working again once we moved to Virginia.
Oh, okay. So
ultimately, I've been licensed doing mortgages since 2015, but I've taken 2 breaks, and it coincides with both of my kids, basically.
So how has working in the mortgage industry, like how has that impacted you and your financial decisions? Like, what do you has it opened up a new door? Do you feel like you're more financially stable? Like, how has that benefited you in your financial life?
It changed my life from the time I started. I didn't understand a ton about credit, but now I'm in a business to where everything is kind of driven by what's going on with someone's credit. So in order to be good at my job, I had to explore that more, right? And then I ultimately became very, very well versed in all facets of finance. But it was to do well and to help other people. I had to learn this stuff. You can have people that like just kind of decide to be average and go along and, oh, I'm okay making, the bare minimum or whatever. That's enough for me to get by. I'm naturally a nerd and I'm competitive.
Yeah.
So,
No, thanks.
and I like to, and so like, I'm the type of person, if they have a contest at work,
I'm gonna win.
I'm gonna find a way to win.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this, right? And within my industry, part of that comes with, you have to understand, you have to study the industry, right? So yeah, throughout the years, I just naturally had to study it. Then I got really good at it, applied it to my own life. So I've had my stuff in line for a long time. Then comes, bringing along my husband. It was a couple years into our marriage before he finally let me even look at his credit.
Wow.
I'm not going to lie. But then just even being able to and his was never terrible. He just had student loans and stuff like that, which were taken care of and everything. And now he's like super great. And it's so funny because now he's like my biggest cheerleader. Every time someone's like, oh, I was thinking about buying a house, you need to call my wife right now. Listen, she can tell you how to do everything you need to do. Like, it doesn't matter. Even if you're a year off, you need to talk to her right now. Like, he's the best cheerleader and I love it.
I love that you care and because so I tried to buy a house in like 2019. This is before life went wild. And I was like, I'm tired of renting, and I started looking. I did everything. So let me not say I did everything because I didn't let them pull my credit fully to like get my, what do you call it? The pre-approval. I was just like I was kind of scared of that commitment. I wasn't sure, but I just didn't know, like, are you taking advantage of me? I was starting to feel a little pressure and I'm like, okay. And in the inventory, I just was like, well, I'm not about to just jump because this is a big commitment. And then one of the things that my dad has always been the financial, like I've always been financially responsible because I've been working since I was like 15. So I've always had money and I was too afraid. And even to this day, like I'm scared to owe people. I don't want nobody coming back to me except for Sally Mae because they can take that degree back. To be honest, as of right now, you can have it back actually. But so I've always been afraid to like owe people. But I didn't grow up with real financial literacy. It's just you need to save money. So I've always had a savings account. I'm always gonna pay my bills on time, and everything else is like you figure it out. So that's as far as like financial literate that I've ever been.
And that makes perfect sense. And especially, like you said, you heard save your money, pay your bills, essentially, right? Is the general gist of it. And that's basically all of our generation. We're getting our advice and we lean heavily on the boomer generation, right? The world has drastically changed since then. My first piece of advice for anyone would be find someone, whether it's you're trying to buy a house or just find a financial advisor just for your life in general without trying to buy a house, find someone you can trust. This is how I would do that. You can start with anyone. You're going to have some of the people that are true salesmen that are just like all about the transaction and getting you through the door. Red flag, right?
Okay.
Then you have and you might end up talking to a lot of people just to find someone you're comfortable with. An example of me, of someone to be comfortable with, if you have questions, they're going to take their time and answer your questions. They're not going to push you to say, yeah, you need to do this application unless it makes sense at the time. Another thing, and I have people ask me this a lot of the times too, they'll tell me like, hey, yeah, no, I got to run this by my dad, or I have to run this by so-and-so. And I'm like, I always offer, I'm like, that's a great idea. Hey, do you think it would be helpful if I jumped on a call with you guys? So then your dad could, because clearly you're getting advice from him or whatever. That's going to help two things. One, the person that you trust, they might have a lot of knowledge. Then they can vet me for you. You know what I mean? And make sure that I'm not telling you some BS and that I'm like, you know what I mean? They can kind of, it's almost like you're, have your mom or dad meet your little boyfriend before you guys go out type of thing. Right. And then on the other hand too, it kind of helps me gauge, are they getting advice from someone that, you know what I mean, knows what they're talking about too? Or I can gently and bring them back. If they're giving you advice from 1972, you know what I mean? I can gently help you circle back around. And of course, if you have someone that's, a little too aggressive or whatever the case may be, that might not be the right person for you. Or it might be that you're in a place to do a transaction and things like that. And then someone aggressive it might look like a different situation, but ultimately you want to be comfortable with the person that you're working with. So don't let anyone make you feel like you need to rush to do something or like you're being pressured. Like, trust yourself, trust the red flags, take a step back, but don't let that scare you away from the process. Because I always tell people, even if you're not trying to do something now, knowing what to do to plan for your situation, if you could have started yesterday, I would advise you to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that's what I want to ask you when it comes to like, how do you get prepared? Because I think that one of the areas that I did not prepare well is like, I guess the job security. Cause I was like, I'm only here for a year or two and then I'm on to the next. And my dad would always tell me like, you need to be at a job for 5 years. And so you can get, and to me, like, don't tell me where to be. Like, I don't like, like, cause if I'm out, I'm out. And that was like, well, dang, I got to find somewhere that I can settle so that I can afford a house. But I'm like, I don't want a house in those circumstances. And so like, I recognize for me, it's like, let me get the knowledge so I can know if that's what God even has for me right now, to own a home. But how would you, for somebody to get prepared? Let's say I have good credit, but like if you don't, somebody who maybe don't even understand credit, like what do you do to get prepared?
I call it dreams and goals, right? I have a dreams and goals call with somebody. I need to know why we're talking. What brings you here today? You know what I mean? Get to know the person. What are you trying to accomplish? You know what I mean? You need to talk to someone that actually cares about what you're trying to do, because this needs to be your agenda and not theirs, right? So first, when we start off, hey, I want to buy a house, but I'm nervous because X, Y, and Z, or whatever the case may be. You need someone that can fully sit there and listen to you and help you understand the process, beyond just saying, oh yeah, let's pull your credit and see what we're working with. No, let's talk about the situation first and see, there might not even be a need to pull your credit. So for instance, you said someone told you your dad said you have to be at your job for 5 years. Well, in terms of qualifying for a mortgage, you need to be in the same line of work for 2 years, right?
Oh.
So if you tell me you just switched jobs and I'm like, okay, well, you went from something totally different career-wise. I'm like, okay, so in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, that reset them. I'm not going to pull your credit because there's no reason to do that right now, right? But ultimately, that's why you have that upfront conversation. And then someone can guide you and talk to you and say, okay, you tell me you want to buy a house. This is what you have going on in your favor right now. There's this one, if the one part is you've been on your job for 1 year, okay, we just need 1 more year. So you're doing good. Keep paying, you know what I mean? Your bills on time. You might want to pay this down. If I get an idea of your debt to income ratio without actually pulling your credit, I might give you advice on, certain stuff to do. Most people right now, it's just, okay, that balance of money and credit, right? Because you have to have at least decent credit, even if you want to qualify for a down payment assistance program or something like that. But really just talking to a financial advisor, or if you're just deliberately trying to buy a house or you want to know where to start, talking to a lender, talking to a mortgage advisor, and just understanding your situation so you can know your buying power, or at least so you can get on the right track to where you want to be. Because not everything is like a right now thing.
Yes.
So if you feel pressure from someone to make you, and don't get me wrong, there are some people that they already did their process and they're ready right now. Of course, we'll do it. Congratulations, you're there, right? Like we bought our house in September. It wasn't just done lightly. We had been preparing for it. You know what I mean? Since before we moved to Texas. So some people are in different places in their process. But ultimately, you just really need to talk to someone and have someone to explain to you everything that it encompasses, along with your credit. Because credit in life now, credit is so important. So having someone that can really explain to you the differences, and understanding the differences depending on what your goals are, right? Your goal might not be to buy a house right now. Your goal might be just to get a car because you think, you might not be in this area for the next year or two. And that's another thing too. When people always tell me they want to buy a house, I'm like, okay, how long do you think you're gonna, be in the area? How long do you think you would like to own this home? Like, what's your goal? If anyone tells me that they're gonna move within the next 3 years, I'm like, you don't need to buy a house.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna lose money on that house. A house is a beautiful investment.
Mm-hmm.
Primarily once you hit that 3-year mark.
Mm-hmm. And so something that you said made me think, some people are so pressed to like, it needs to be a right now thing, or they'll try to keep up with what society tells them you should be at this certain age, or and you can't afford it. And like my biggest thing is like, even if I can afford a home, I don't want to be house poor.
Right.
I don't want to get a house just to say I got the house, but it's empty in there, Right. I can't enjoy it because I'm breaking my back working to try to keep up, like, so that's when I was feeling that pressure, I'm like, maybe I'm just not ready for this either, because I want to feel comfortable, because I think that buying a home is the biggest investment that you'll make. Like, and I think it's a great investment, for your family and your future, but I don't feel like you should rush into something like that.
You shouldn't. You need to be prepared, and then you also have to know like what all it encompasses, right? Mm-hmm. And like we've discussed, everybody's at a different place in their life naturally. Mm-hmm. The same way, this is my favorite question, by the way. Most people in my position get annoyed by this, but it almost makes me chuckle because I feel like it's a challenge. Every time someone calls me and says, well, what are your interest rates? I laugh to myself because that's what people have been programmed to ask, right? Mm-hmm. There's so many things to go into an interest rate, and it's literally specific to the person. It's what you qualify for, how much money you make compared to what's going out, your complete, your whole credit, your this, besides just the number, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I always laugh when people say that, and I'm just like, okay, no worries. They, like, in my mind, I'm telling myself they've been programmed to ask me this, and now I get to explain to them, like, kind of how things work. But first, I'm always like, that's a great question. Let me ask you, what does the interest rate mean to you? You know what I mean? And kind of talk them. And then it just opens the door to where I can talk to them and have a full conversation without, being a jerk and making someone feel stupid because they're just asking me, what's the rates? Okay, I get it. You know what I mean? I just laugh to myself and have to like kind of unravel that and find out what's behind that question. You know what I mean? But once again, everybody's in a different place. There's so much, but owning a home compared to renting, 9 times out of 10, yes, it is the best decision, but it's not always right now. It's the best decision. So you have to prepare yourself. Like for instance, if you're moving next year, don't buy something you're going to lose money, right? Mm-hmm. Or if there's small tweaks that you can do in your credit that's going to make you get a better interest rate, or certain things you can pay down to help your debt to income ratio, or just house availability, right? Mm-hmm. Right now, because rates are extremely high, the 10-year treasury note stresses me out. But
I don't know what that means, but
so it's essentially like, so once again, I'm a numbers nerd and a market nerd. Mm-hmm. I have to pay attention to the market to see what rates are going to do. They're supposed to come down and they didn't. And now they're saying there's supposed to be 3 major cuts this year. Mm-hmm. Now they're saying the first cut might not come until like May or June, which is crazy. But anyways, because of that, though, interest rates are still high. So you have a lot of the higher priced properties are just sitting there. But those ones in the $300,000 range, especially anything 200 to like 350, they're getting snatched up because there's still low availability. And because interest rates are high, people can afford less. So you have some people that may have, if interest rates were a whole point lower, they might be shopping in the 400 and 500,000s. Right now, that's just not a possibility. You also have the combination of the people, the older people, right, that have been in their house, and they might not be older per se, but they've been in a house for a long time, downsizing. So they sell their house because house prices are still up really high. Mm-hmm. Let's say they bought their house back in the day for $300. Well, they sell it now for, I don't know, maybe $500-600, right? Well, now they have a ton of cash because their house is paid off. they're going back and downsizing, but the downsize now is the $300,000 house. So they're buying cash. So it's taking a lot of those houses away from people that are still trying to qualify for homes. So that with the shortage, it's a lot of different puzzle pieces to be solved, but with everyone, and you don't know when the market's going to move and when more houses will be available. So for everyone, I always tell them, get prepared now. Because once you are prepared, it still might be a game of double dutch before you jump in and decide it's the right time. But you want to know that you at least have the ability to do something if you so choose to do it. So knowing and having a game plan, obviously game plans, you want to have plan A, B, C, D, all the way down, because nothing in this world happens the way it's supposed to. Like the interest rates that were supposed to be down in hopefully getting down below 6 right now, and they're still like teetering right below 7. You want to be prepared. So when the time is right, you have the option to do that.
So what would you tell somebody who just has the idea, like, I want to own a home, but they don't know where to start? Or maybe something that you wish you knew beforehand. Like, what would you tell them to get prepared?
Talk to a lender, do your research. You can, it's hard to do online research because you have the YouTubers of the world, the this, that, and the third, to where you don't know what you can trust. And some of it is garbage. Some of it was relevant at one time, but stuff changes so quickly. For someone that is researching, it's hard to keep up online or to know what's good information or not. So I'd say just, once again, vetting out people, talk to, a financial advisor. You can even talk to someone you trust in your family. This is a gem that I'd like to share with your audience. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I always tell people, when you're seeking advice, talk to someone that is doing better than you.
That's not just financial either. That's life.
That is life.
Yeah.
Talk to someone. They might not be exactly where you want to be, but talk to someone that's at least headed in the direction that is currently doing better than you. I see a lot of times people get advice and I'm like, who did they get this advice from? Okay, so you talk to somebody, I'm not trying to use derogatory terms, but just to throw it out there, to be blunt, I'm like, you can't be broke taking advice from broker. You're not going to get anywhere like that. So just understand there is levels. So just be conscious of who you're talking to and who you're getting your advice from. That's my only gem I'm going to share. I'm not trying to be rude. I just want to be honest.
Facts.
It is, okay?
You can't get advice from everybody. And sometimes even it's not like a disrespectful thing, but that advice that you're giving is outdated, babe.
Yes.
There's things have changed. The world is different now. And so I agree. I think that is a life lesson. Like you can't take advice from people that, they need to be doing better or showing or something. You can share some wisdom now, maybe things that I wish I knew better. But as far as telling me what steps to take or, it's going to be kind of hard to trust that. Right. If you got some sense, at least.
Exactly. Yeah. And even people that are on the same level as you, once again, I always get people, what's your rate? Well, someone that's going through the same thing as you, their situation is different than yours. You guys don't have the exact same DNA. Okay. So even though they're saying, oh, this is what I'm doing, do this too, it's not always going to match up. So I encourage anyone to talk to a professional, always start with a family member. Once again, you want to try to talk to someone that's doing at least better than you are. They might not be all the way where you want to be, but try to talk to someone that, has traveled these territories before, right? Whether financial, in life, in relationships, whatever the case may be. What do they always say? Like, oh, you're getting marriage advice from, whoever who's never been married or she's been divorced 75 times. Is that smart? What
kind of advice you getting?
Right. What kind of marriage advice are we getting from, Sally, who's been divorced 72 times and
maybe you can learn what not to do.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So that's a good place to start. And then maybe having a family member help you vet someone, have them talk to the financial advisor, have them talk to your mortgage lender. If you have a mortgage lender or a financial advisor that's not willing to do that, depending on your situation and where you are in your process, that might not work for you. That might be a red flag. Like, hey, they're not willing to take the time with me to, like, you know what I mean? Help me understand or get me where I need to be. You have to, be willing to shift gears and talk to someone else. Or maybe you just get lucky and off the first time you talk to someone and it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're able to get the information you need and whatever the case may be, start building, you know what I mean? Your personal situation. And everything is just all about your goals. Where do you want to be? What, you have your 5-year goals and then you have like dreams and long-term goals. So let's start with our 5-year goals, work your way up to, some more of the long-term goals. And then at the very end, there's the dreams down there. And hopefully one day, you know what I mean?
So it sounds like I'm at the book of dreams and I was about to say dreams and nightmares, Jesus. Oh, I'm about to have to book a dreams and goals call with you so that I can get on the track to becoming, like a homeowner one day.
I would love to have that conversation with you.
And I think like I can just, not just because you're my cousin, but your genuineness, like you care, and that makes a difference.
I love what I do. And it is very rewarding being able to provide someone with, this is personal to me, right? Stability to me means, like I said, I always ask everyone, are you going to live there for the next 3 years? Not only is that going to give you financial stability, but we're talking about generational wealth. We're talking about building on years and years of a system that for a lot of Black and brown people was not ever built for us. You know what I mean? So just having that place to start and build from and grow on, and then passing that to our children. Yes. It's not necessarily that we're giving our houses to our children, but the knowledge and the know-how. And
that's how you build generational wealth though. It's not just about
giving you.
Yeah. It's like, it's not just about what's in the bank account. How do you, even if you got money, like how are you going to maintain it? You got to have that knowledge. And so I think that does start with us, like making good financial decisions, learning the season that you're in, not trying to keep up with somebody that you don't know what's going on with them. I think a lot of us get caught up. I'll say for myself, like I'm 30 plus, I should have a house by now. Like, girl,
your journey is not the same as everyone. Keeping up with the Joneses is a quick way to end up broke. So just knowing your own path and that's what I say when I tell people, know your buying power, that's personal to you. Your buying power is not the same as someone else's. And you just need to be confident in yourself and your journey and your path to be comfortable there. You're okay where you are. Let's not, extend yourself further and then you need to. In the housing industry, that's why my job was created, was because the market collapsed in 2008. They didn't have people, qualifying people for these mortgages, and they were buying stuff that they couldn't afford and getting 2-3 mortgages. It was ridiculous. But ultimately now we're in a position to where that's why they look at your debt to income ratio and all these things. It's a little bit tougher to get qualified now, but it's for the purpose of, we want you to keep your house. Nobody's trying to foreclose on anybody. I'd like to say it's because the mortgage companies truly care about their clients. No, it's because they don't want that bad PR of saying they're the company that forecloses on everyone, right?
Low key, I haven't done a lot of research, but I just, somebody told me about something that happened in Kansas City or Independence. It was a guy who, I guess maybe somebody paid on their back taxes and they ended up losing their house. Like maybe they couldn't afford it. Because the thing about it is like, yeah, you can buy a home and you have your mortgage, but then you still got to pay taxes. And depending on where you live or what the market is doing, like I don't really know all the specs of it, but it fluctuates how much taxes you have to pay. So it's more than just being able to afford it month to month. Like how can you sustain it long term?
So right now, depending on how, like if you put like a substantial amount of money down and you have excellent credit, a mortgage company will let you pay your own taxes. But most of the time, people just, especially right now, people don't got it like that, right? So your taxes are paid with your mortgage payment. Your homeowner's insurance and your taxes will be bundled in with that. And you have to be able to afford all of that. And then here in Texas, because there's no state income tax, the government has found their way to get it, and it is in property taxes. Texas property taxes, New York, I'm not counting New York, but Texas has the craziest property taxes that I have ever seen. There's very, very high. So you do need to factor all that stuff in when you're going to purchase a home. Your mortgage advisor or lender or whatever the case may be would help you understanding that. But yeah, there's more than just, oh, I'm going to pay on this house. And then understanding how, you know, why I say 3 years is the golden time. So a lot of people don't understand how interest works and compounded interest that's amortized over 30 years.
Girl, hold on. Speak for dummies, because what you talking about.
Okay. So essentially, I'll break it down for you. What that essentially means is the lender, yeah, they're lending you this money, but trust me, they want to get theirs up front. So when you first start making your payments, especially like let's say you're working with a 30-year mortgage, those first 15 years, the vast majority of your money is going towards interest. So like each one of your payments in the first like 5 years, barely anything is going towards the principal, barely anything. That number is barely moving. So yes, you can make money after 3 years on selling a house, but that has not so much to do with you paying down your mortgage unless you are making additional payment on top of your whatever your natural payment is. It's more so because houses naturally appreciate over time. So if you sell your house, like let's say after 3 years, whatever money you got back, I guarantee it's not because you paid down your mortgage. It's because the house value went up.
Oh my gosh, Shay. I see. Thank you. Because this is stuff that I wouldn't even think about and that I wouldn't even know. So can anybody book a call with you? Like how can we support you? Because I feel like I could talk to you forever and like want to know more. But I think you have something to offer. Like people who might be interested in wanting to get started and don't know where to start. How can they book a call with you?
Yeah, I 100%. I can provide you with my link if you don't mind.
No, I don't
share it with this video.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's legitimately what I do all day, every day, and I love it. But yeah, you can go on my link. I have a Calendly, or if, you know, sometimes I do have people that are essentially ready to go. So I also have an application link. But I still talk to people up front just to make sure like, hey, what are you trying to do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That type of thing. But yeah, I have a link. I'd be happy to share it.
Yes,
and I love sharing this knowledge, especially to people that otherwise don't really have good access to the information. And I understand that because it's incredibly hard to like vet out internet research, because that's essentially what everything is now. So
yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time and sharing your journey to this. And I think what I'm taking away from this the most is like, God does not waste anything. It literally all works. It happens for a reason. It literally just happens for a reason. And I love that you have been able to pivot in so many different seasons and to still be able to come out like this and find something that you're genuinely passionate about, and you're getting to live your dreams, like, you know, like your dreams after the dream, you know, you've gotten a chance to experience your dreams in so many different seasons. And I just love that for you.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
I'm so appreciative that you were able to have me here and just to be able to share a little bit of what I'm doing, my story, where we came from, and just how it's all transpired, and the intent behind everything is just so genuine. I'm just very, very grateful, not only for this season, but for this life, for this opportunity. Like, I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you. I'm happy. This was, you don't even know, girl. Like, this is like a answered prayer to me that I didn't even know. I didn't even know how to pray for this, but it just come, like you said, all these full circle moments. But one thing that I ask all my guests is, I didn't list this in the email, but I, like, you know, Let It Be has a playlist, and this is a pick-me-up playlist, something that I listen to when I'm feeling discouraged, when I might feel like, did God forget about me? Something that I just need to kind of just give me a little bit of joy or something, like speak life into me. Could you name me a song, up to 3 songs? If you don't have 3, that's fine, that I could add to Let It Be the playlist? I think you told me you downloaded it before, so you kind of know the vibe of it.
I have the playlist, and there is one song. Can I pick up my phone?
Yeah.
Okay. I have this, and it's So, I play this song. Here it is. So I don't know how to pronounce the full name, but it's called
Blessings by Teresa somebody. I'm sorry. Okay.
You can share it later.
Yeah, I'll add it to
Blessings.
I'll add it to
the vibe is golden.
Yeah, I love that.
It's golden. The song makes me genuinely happy. And it's a reflection song to me. Mm-hmm. It just puts me in that like happy peace of mind and just
it's a feel good song for sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for helping me close out this crazy experience of Let It Be the Podcast Season 2. It's been an honor to have you. I'm excited to continue to build our relationship, continue to learn my history more, where I come from. I'm grateful that God did not forget me. He didn't forget you, and that he has connected us. Like, I'm excited for just how this is evolving, just for our relationship and just for you, and continuing to grow and help other people, help make the world better around you. That's ultimately what we're doing. So thank you so much. And thank you for tuning in to Let It Be the Podcast. It has been such a blessing. It's a journey. This has been very grateful for all the support. I pray that you've taken something away from this and that you learn. And if you want to get connected with Shay, I'm going to provide the link. I'll share the link below, but then I'll also make sure it's in the description. So that way, if you want to learn more about where to get started, you can definitely tap in with her. You in the state of Texas. So I don't know if do you have to be in Dallas? Can you be like?
So I'm actually licensed everywhere but New York.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
So I can help everybody.
Okay. I love that. Do you want?
They can, find the link and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, you have been tuning in to Let It Be the Podcast with your host, Fergie. This is Shay. And make sure that you subscribe on YouTube. You can also subscribe on Spotify, Apple, and every other streaming platform. If you want to follow Let It Be the Podcast, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Let It Be Podcast. If you want to follow me, I'm Fergie, BREFERGIE. But it has been such a pleasure. God is just so good. He's so faithful. Thank you. And until we meet again, bye.